Hi, this is a development update for Kanekon Stories Volume 2. If you're not familiar with the game, I have a link in the description for a trailer that will introduce you to the main characters, and this video might make more sense once you've watched it. The feature we're going to be talking about today is switching control to different characters. This one is an important feature as the game script allows the user to control the two main characters at different times. I think this is the best way to get to know each character and how they think. In Volume 1, this didn't really come up because the two main characters were together for the whole game, in part because they were both interested in the same thing, fencing. Since that's a competitive sport, it made sense that they were together the whole time. In Volume 2, the main characters do spend a lot of time together but have different interests. Each one uses their perspective to drive the story forward in a way that the other can't. This change is one that needed some technical work. This will probably be the most technical of all of my development update videos, but here it goes. The game code inherited from Volume 1, written using the libgdx framework in Java, treats the player and NPC, or game world character, as two separate classes. Either the player or NPCs could be scripted in scenes with the use of a common interface. If a script told the character to move left, it would work regardless of whether or not it was a player character or NPC, because they both implemented the same interface. The game screen, known as the box world, holds references to many NPCs, but also directly instantiates a player and treats it as a separate entity. This doesn't really allow for switching control to different characters very easily. Of course, you could do something like swap out the sprites instead of switching control to a different object, but that seemed wrong to me. I wanted something slightly closer to an entity component system that is often used in game development, making the game world character, or NPC, into the standard class used for both and simply applying behaviors to the class, such as the ability to control it, as the game progresses. What I came up with is certainly not an ECS system, as any game developers watching could attest to, but it did make the result much more flexible. The needed change was simple enough to start off with. On the surface, the ability to set a game world character's direction based on input is easy to copy in. There is more that has to change, though. Collisions in the game are handled by the Box 2D physics engine, and the colliders for players and NPCs are configured differently. There are colliders, such as those that trigger scripts. We want the player to collide with, but not NPCs. Players have what's known as a dynamic body, which allows it to collide with most things in the world. NPCs, on the other hand, have a kinematic body, which makes them easier to handle and compute. When a game world character is brought either into or out of player control, we have to destroy the existing body and create a new one. The change also requires us to store the knowledge of who is being controlled as game state. The first diagram only included the box world in addition to these characters, but there is another component called the game state manager. It persists across game screens to control other processes that must persist in the same way. The game state manager wasn't aware of our player class before, because it had no reason to. However, now we need to store a reference to this controlled character, as we don't want our changes to reset when we move to a new screen. Lastly, there is a camera positioner that follows the player. Immediately switching the camera to the point where the newly controlled character is located would have a choppy effect. So we've now added the ability to track the player by moving towards its target's location rather than snapping to it. I think the effect works pretty well. Looking at other game objects that I've used as game world character classes before, there are some cool opportunities here for game mechanics. Here we have a barrel, which brings to mind a stealth mechanic from another Konami franchise. We could control one of the birds flying overhead. I could also imagine a group of kid characters playing tag and having the player control whoever is it. Now that I think about it, it would probably be more fun to play tag as the same person, getting the opportunity to both chase and be chased. Maybe Doris could invent an RC car and the player could control it. Anyway, this feature will be very useful for the game and I'm glad to have it now. Thanks for watching. You can check out the other videos in my channel. In addition to the trailers, soundtrack music, and development updates I've already posted, I plan on posting update videos on different aspects of game development, such as writing the music or making the maps. If you enjoyed this and would like to see more, please like and subscribe.